Chapter 7. The Club and the Bullet. He is dead, and by my hand. It were better that I were dead myself, for the guilty wretch I am. Adventures of Sexton Blake. Hour after hour Mr. Parker sat waiting for his friend's return. Again and again he went over the Riddlesdale case, checking his notes here, amplifying them there, involving his tired brain in speculations of a most fantastic kind. He wandered about the room, taking down here and there a book from the shelves, strumming a few unskilful bars upon the piano, glancing through the weeklies, fidgeting restlessly. At length he selected a volume from the criminological section of the bookshelves, and forced himself to read with attention that most fascinating and dramatic of poison trials, the Seddon case. Gradually the mystery gripped him, as it invariably did, and it was with a start of astonishment that he looked up at a long and vigorous whirring of the doorbell, to find that it was already long past midnight. His first thought was that Whimsy must have left his latchkey behind, and was preparing a facetious greeting, when the door opened, exactly as in the beginning of a Sherlock Holmes story, to admit a tall and beautiful young woman, in an extreme state of nervous agitation, with halo of golden hair, violet blue eyes, and disordered apparel, all complete. For as she threw back her heavy travelling coat, he observed that she wore evening dress, with light green silk stockings and heavy brogue shoes, thickly covered with mud. "His lordship has not yet returned, my lady," said Mr. Bunter, "but Mr. Parker is here waiting for him, and we are expecting him at any minute now. Will your ladyship take anything?" No, nothing, thank you. I'll wait. Good evening, Mr. Parker. Where's Peter?" "He's been called out, Lady Mary. I can't think why he isn't back yet. Do sit down." "Where did he go?" "To Scotland Yard. That was about 6 o'clock. I can't imagine—" "Oh, no, I knew it. Oh, Mr. Parker, what am I to do?" Mr. Parker was speechless. "I must see Peter. It's a matter of life and death. Can you send for him?" "I don't know where he is. Please, Lady Mary." "He's doing something dreadful. He's all wrong." The young woman was wringing her hands with desperate vehemence. "I must see him. Tell me, did anybody ever get into such dreadful trouble? Here the lady laughed loudly and burst into tears. "Lady Mary, I beg you, please don't. Please sit down. Drink a glass of wine. You'll be ill if you cry like that. If it is crying, it sounds more like hiccups. Bunter!" Mr. Bunter was not far off. In fact, he was just outside the door with a small tray. "Allow me, sir." He stepped forward to the writhing Lady Mary and presented a small phial to her nose. The effect was startling. The patient gave 2 or 3 fearful whoops, then sat up erect and furious. "How dare you, Bunter? Go away at once." "Your ladyship had better take a drop of brandy," said Mr. Bunter, replacing the stopper in the smelling bottle, but not before Parker had caught the pungent reek of ammonia. "This is the 1800 Napoleon brandy, my lady. Please don't snort so, if I might make the suggestion. His lordship would be greatly distressed to think that any of it should be wasted. Did your ladyship dine on the way up?" "No. Most unwise, my lady, to undertake a long journey on a vacant interior. I will take the liberty of sending in an omelette to your ladyship. Perhaps you would like a little snack of something yourself, sir, as it's getting late." "Anything you like. Now, Lady Mary, you're feeling better, aren't you? Let me help you off with your coat." Nothing more of an exciting nature was said until the omelette was disposed of, and Lady Mary comfortably settled on the Chesterfield. She had by now recovered her poise. Looking at her, Parker noticed how her recent illness, however produced, had left its mark upon her. Her complexion had nothing of the brilliance which he remembered. She looked strained and white, with purple hollows under her eyes. "I'm sorry I was so foolish just now, Mr. Parker, but I was dreadfully distressed, and I came up from Riddlesdale so hurriedly." "Not at all. Is there anything I can do in your brother's absence?" "I suppose you and Peter do everything together." "I think I may say that neither of us knows anything about the investigation which is not communicated to the other." "If I tell you, then, it's the same thing." "It is exactly the same thing. if you can bring yourself to honour me with your confidence."
"Wait a minute, Mr. Parker, for I am in a difficult position. I don't quite know what I ought... Well, can you tell me just how far, what you've discovered?"
Mr. Parker was a little taken aback. Although the face of Lady Mary had been haunting his imagination ever since the inquest, and although the agitation of his feelings had risen to a boiling point during this romantic interview, the official instinct of caution had not wholly deserted him. Holding as he did proofs of Lady Mary's complicity in the crime, whatever it was, he was not so far gone as to fling all his cards on the table. "I'm afraid I can't quite tell you that. You see, so much of what we've got is only suspicion as yet, and I might accidentally do great mischief to an innocent person."
"Ah, you definitely suspect somebody, then?"
"Indefinitely would be a better word for it. But if you have anything to tell us which may throw light on the matter, I beg you to speak. We may be suspecting a totally wrong person."
"I shouldn't be surprised."
Her hand strayed to the table and began pleating the orange envelope into folds. "What do you want to know?" Parker was conscious of a new hardness in her manner, of something braced and rigid. He opened his notebook, and as he began his questioning, his nervousness left him. The official reasserted itself. "You were in Paris last February."
"Mm-hmm."
"Do you recollect going with Captain Cathcart? By the way, you speak French, I presume?"
"Yes, very fluently."
"As well as your brother? Practically without an accent?"
"Quite as well. We always had French governesses as children. Mother was very particular about it."
"I see. Well now, do you remember going with Captain Cathcart on February the 6th to a jeweller's in the Rue de Paix and buying, or his buying for you, a tortoise-shell comb set with diamonds and a diamond and platinum cat with emerald eyes?"
"Is that the cat you have been making inquiries about in Riddlesdale?"
"Yes."
"It was found in the shrubbery, wasn't it?"
"Had you lost it, or was it Cathcart's?"
"If I said it was his,
I should be ready to believe you. Was it?"
"No. It was mine."
"When did you lose it?"
"That night.
Where?"
"In the shrubbery, I suppose. Wherever you found it. I didn't miss it till later."
"Is it the one you bought in Paris?"
"Yes."
"Why did you say before that it was not yours?"
"I was afraid."
"And now?"
"I am going to speak the truth."
Parker looked at her again. She met his eye frankly, but there was a tenseness in her manner which showed that it had cost her something to make her mind up. "Very well. We shall all be glad of that. For I think there were one or two points at the inquest on which you did not tell the truth, weren't there?"
"Yes."
"Do believe that I am sorry to have to ask these questions. The terrible position in which your brother is placed,
in which I helped to place him. I helped put him in jail. Don't say I didn't, because I did."
"Well, don't worry. There's plenty of time to put it right again. Shall we go on?"
"Yes."
"Well now, Lady Mary, it wasn't true about hearing that shot at 3 o'clock, was it?"
"No."
"Did you hear the shot at all?"
"Yes."
"When?"
"At 11:50.
"What was it then, Lady Mary, you hid behind the plants in the conservatory?"
"I hid nothing there."
"And in the oak chest on the landing?"
"My skirt."
"You went out—"
"Why?"
"To meet Cathcart?"
"Yes."
"Who was the other man?"
"What other man?"
"The other man who was in the shrubbery. A tall, fair man, dressed in a Burberry."
"There was no other man."
"Oh, pardon me, Lady Mary. We saw his footmarks all the way up from the shrubbery to the conservatory."
"It must have been a tramp. I know nothing about him."
"We have proof he was there, of what he did and how he escaped. For heaven's sake, and your brother's sake, Lady Mary, tell us the truth, for that man in the Burberry was the man who shot Cathcart."
"No, that's impossible."
"Why impossible?"
"Because I shot Dennis Cathcart myself."
"So that's how the matter stands, you see, Lord Peter," said the Chief of Scotland Yard, rising from his desk with a friendly gesture of dismissal. The man was undoubtedly seen at Marylebone on the Friday morning, and though we have unfortunately lost him again for the moment, I have no doubt whatever that we shall lay hands on him before long. The delay has been due to the unfortunate illness of the porter Morrison, whose evidence has been so material. But we are wasting no time now.
Well, I'm sure I may leave it to you with great confidence, Sir Andrew. I'm digging away too, don't you know. Between us we ought to get something, eh? You in your small corner and I in mine, as the hymn says. Or is it a hymn? I remember reading it in a book about missionaries when I was small. Did you want to be a missionary in your youth? I did. I think most kids do sometime or another, which is odd, isn't it, seeing how unsatisfactory most of us turn out.
Meanwhile, if you run across the man yourself, you will let us know. I would never deny your extraordinary good fortune, or it may be good judgment. In running across criminals, we may be wanting.
If I catch the bloke, I'll come and shriek under your windows till you let me in, even if it's in the middle of the night, and you're in your little nightshirt. Oh, and talking of nightshirts reminds me, we hope to see you down at Denver one of these days, as soon as this business is over. Mother sends kind regards, of course.
Thank you very much. I hope you feel all is going well. I had Parker in here this morning to report. He seemed a little dissatisfied.
Well, he's been doing a lot of ungrateful routine work, and being altogether the fine, sound man he always is. He's been a damn good friend to me, Sir Andrew. It's a real privilege to be allowed to work with him. Ha! Well, so long, Chief. He found that his interview with Sir Andrew Mackenzie had taken up a couple of hours. It was nearly 8 o'clock. He was just trying to make up his mind where to dine when he was accosted by a cheerful young woman with bobbed red hair, dressed in a checked skirt, brilliant jumper, corduroy jacket, and rakish green velvet tam-o'-shanter. "Surely," said the young woman, extending shapely, ungloved hands, "it's Lord Peter Wimsey. How are you? How's Mary?"
"By Jove," said Wimsey gallantly, "it's Miss Tarrant. How perfectly ripping to see you again. Absolutely delightful. Oh, thanks. Mary ain't as fit as she might be. Worrying about this murder business, you know. You've heard that we are, what the poor so kindly and tactfully call, in trouble, I expect. What?"
"Yes, of course. And of course, as a good socialist, I can't help rejoicing rather when a peer gets taken up, because it does make him look so silly, you know. And the House of Lords is so silly, isn't it? But really I would rather it was anybody else's brother. Mary and I were such great friends, you know. And, of course, you do investigate things, don't you? You don't just live in the States and the country and shoot birds. I suppose that makes a difference. It's frightfully kind of you. If you could prevail upon yourself to overlook the misfortune of my birth and other deficiencies, perhaps you would honour me by coming along and having a bit of dinner somewhere. What? Yeah, I'd love to. Oh, but I've promised to be at the club tonight. There's a meeting at 9. Mr. Coke, the Labour leader, you know. He's going to make a speech about converting the army and navy to communism. We expect to be raided, and there's going to be a grand hunt for spies before we begin. But look here, do come along and dine with me there. And if you like, I'll try and smuggle you into the meeting. You'll be seized and turned out, because I suppose I shouldn't have told you anything about it. You ought to be a deadly enemy. I can't really believe you're dangerous, though.
Oh, I'm just an ordinary capitalist, I expect. Highly obnoxious.
Well, come to dinner anyhow. I do so want to hear all your news."
Peter reflected that the dinner at the Soviet Club would be worse than execrable, and was just preparing an excuse when it occurred to him that Miss Tarrant might be able to tell him a good many of the things that he didn't know, and really ought to know, about his own sister. Accordingly, he altered his polite refusal into a polite acceptance, and plunging after Miss Tarrant was led at a reckless pace and by a series of grimy short-cuts into Gerrard Street, where an orange door, flanked by windows with magenta curtains, sufficiently indicated the Soviet Club. The Soviet Club
being founded to accommodate free thinking rather than high living, had that curious amateur air which pervades all worldly institutions planned by unworldly people. Exactly why it made Lord Peter instantly think of mission teas he could not say, unless it was that all members looked as though they had cherished a purpose in life, and the staff seemed rather sketchily trained and strongly in evidence. Wimsey reminded himself that in so democratic an institution one could hardly expect the assistants to assume that air of superiority which marks the servants in a West End club. For one thing, they would not be such capitalists. In the dining-room below, the resemblance to a mission tea was increased by the exceedingly heated atmosphere, the babble of conversation, and the curious inequalities of the cutlery. Miss Tarrant secured seats at a rather crummy table near the serving hatch, and Peter wedged himself in with some difficulty next to a very large curly-haired man in a velvet coat, who was earnestly conversing with a thin, eager young woman in a Russian blouse, Venetian beads, a Hungarian shawl, and a Spanish comb, looking like a personification of the united front of the Internationale. Lord Peter endeavoured to please his hostess by a question about the great Mr. Coke, but was checked by an agitated "Hush! Please don't talk about it. It's so secret. I'm awfully sorry. I say, do you know you're dipping your jolly little beads in the soup?" "Oh, am I? Oh, thank you very much. Especially as the colour runs. I hope it isn't arsenic or anything. Listen, the girl next to me is Erica Heath Warburton, the writer, you know." Wimsey looked with a new respect at the lady in the Russian blouse. Few books were capable of calling up a blush to his cheek, but he remembered that one of Miss Heath Warburton's had done it. The authoress was just saying impressively to her companion, "Ever know a sincere emotion to express itself in a subordinate clause?"
"Joyce has freed us from the superstition of syntax," agreed the curly man.
"Scenes which make emotional history should ideally be expressed in a series of animal squeals."
"The D.H. Lawrence formula."
"Or even Dada."
"We need a new notation,"
said the curly-haired man, putting both elbows on the table and knocking Wimsey's bread on the floor.
"Have you heard Robert Snoates recite his own verse to the tom-tom and the penny whistle?"
Lord Peter, with difficulty, detached his attention from this fascinating discussion to find that Miss Tarrant was saying something about Mary. "One misses your sister very much. Her wonderful enthusiasm. She spoke so well at meetings. She had a real sympathy with the worker." "It seems astonishing to me, seeing Mary's never done a stroke of work in her life." "Oh, but she did work. She worked for us wonderfully. She was secretary to our propaganda society for nearly 6 months, and then she worked so hard for Mr. Goyles, to say nothing of her nursing in the war. Of course, I don't approve of England's attitude in the war, but nobody would say the work wasn't hard."
"Who is Mr. Goyles?"
"One of our leading speakers. Quite young, but the government are really afraid of him. I expect he'll be here tonight. He has been lecturing in the north, but I believe he's back now."
"I say, do look out, your beads are in the plate again."
"Are they? Well, perhaps they'll flavour the mutton. I'm afraid the cooking here isn't very good, but the subscription's so small, you see. I wonder Mary never told me about Mr. Goyles. They were so very friendly, you know. It was some time ago. Everybody thought she was going to marry him, but it seemed to fall through, and then, well, your sister left town. Do you know about it?"
That was the fellow, was it? Yes, my people didn't altogether see it, you know. Thought Mr. Goyles wasn't quite the son-in-law they'd take to. Family row and so on. Wasn't there myself. Besides, Mary would never listen to me. It's what I gathered."
"Another instance of the absurd old-fashioned tyranny of parents. You wouldn't think it could be possible, could you? Not in post-war times."
"Oh, I don't know what you could exactly call it that. Not parents, exactly. My mother is a remarkable woman. I don't think she interfered. In fact, I fancy she wanted to ask Mr. Goyles to Denver. My brother put his foot down. Oh, well, what can you expect? I don't see what business it was of his." "Oh, none. Only owing to my late father's circumscribed ideas of what was owing to women, my brother has the handling of Mary's money till she marries with his consent. I don't say it's a good plan. I think it's a rotten plan. But there it is." "Monstrous!" She shook her head so angrily that she looked like a shock-haired Peter. "Barbarous! Simply feudal, you know. But, after all, What is money? Nothing, of course. But if you've been brought up having it, it's a bit awkward to drop it. Like baths, you know.
Can't understand how it could have made any difference to Mary. She liked being a worker. She once tried living in a workman's cottage for 8 weeks. 5 of us, on 18 shillings a week. It was a marvellous experience. On the very edge of a new forest.
In the winter?
Oh, no. We thought we'd better not begin with winter. But we had 9 wet days, and the kitchen chimney smoked all the time. You see, the wood came out of a forest, so it was all damp.
Yes. Well, it must have been uncommonly interesting.
It was an experience I shall never forget. One felt so close to the earth under primitive things. If only we could abolish industrialism. I'm afraid, though, we shall never get it put right without a bloody revolution, you know. It's very terrible, of course, but salutary and inevitable. Shall we have coffee? We shall have to carry it upstairs ourselves, if you don't mind. The maids don't bring it up after dinner.
Miss Tarrant settled her bill and returned, thrusting a cup of coffee into his hand. It had already overflowed into the saucer, and as he groped his way round a screen and up a steep and twisted staircase, it overflowed quite an amount more. Emerging from the basement, they almost ran into a young man with fair hair, who was hunting for letters in a dark little row of pigeonholes. Finding nothing, he retreated into the lounge. Miss Tarrant uttered an exclamation of pleasure.
"Why, there is Mr. Goyles!"
Whimsy glanced across, and at the sight of the tall, slightly stooping figure with the untidy hair and the gloved right hand, he gave an irrepressible little gasp. "Won't you introduce me?"
"I'll fetch him,"
said Miss Tarrant. She made off across the lounge and addressed the young agitator, who started, looked across at Whimsy, shook his head, appeared to apologise and gave a hurried glance at his watch, then darted out by the entrance. Whimsy sprang forward in pursuit.
"Extraordinary," said Miss Tarrant with a blank face. "He says he has an appointment, but he wouldn't surely miss for—"
"Excuse me," said Peter, dashing out in time to perceive a dark figure retreating across the street. He gave chase. The man took to his heels and seemed to plunge into the dark little alley which leads into the Charing Cross Road. Hurrying in pursuit, Whimsy was almost blinded by a sudden flash and smoke nearly in his face. A crushing blow on the left shoulder and a deafening report whirled his surroundings away. He staggered violently and collapsed onto a second-hand brass bedstead. Chapter 8. Mr. Parker Takes Notes. A man was taken to the zoo and shown the giraffe. After gazing at it a little in silence, he said, "I don't believe it." Parker's first impulse was to doubt his own sanity, his next to doubt Lady Mary's. Then, as the clouds rolled away from his brain, he decided that she was merely not speaking the truth. "Come, Lady Mary," he said encouragingly, but with an accent of reprimand as to an over-imaginative child. "You can't expect us to believe that, you know."
"But you must. It is a fact. I shot him. I really did. I didn't mean to do it, exactly. It was, well, a sort of accident."
Mr. Parker got up and paced about the room. "You have put me in a terrible position, Lady Mary. You see, I am a police officer. I never imagined—"
"It doesn't matter. Of course you'll have to arrest me or detain me or whatever you call it. That's what I came for. I'm really quite ready to go quietly, if that's the right expression. It is, isn't it? But I'd like to explain about it first, though. Of course I ought to have done that long ago, but I'm afraid I lost my head. I didn't realise that Gerald would get blamed. I hoped they'd think it was suicide. Do I make a statement to you now, or do I have to do it at the police station?"
"Oh,
They won't punish me so badly if it was an accident, will they?"
no, of course not. Of course not. But if only you had spoken earlier."
"No," said Parker, stopping suddenly short in his distracted pacing and sitting down next to her.
"This is absolutely impossible. Absurd."
He caught the girl's hand suddenly in his own.
"Nothing will convince me. This is absurd. It's not like you."
"But an accident—"
"I don't mean that. You know I don't mean that. But that you should keep silence.
I was afraid." I'm telling you now.
No, no, no! You are lying to me. Nobly, I know, but it is not worth it. No man could be worth it. Let him go, I implore you. Tell the truth. Don't shield the man. If he murdered Dennis Cathcart— The girl sprang to her feet, wrenching her hand away.
There was no other man. How dare you say it or think it? I killed Dennis Cathcart, I tell you, and you shall believe it. I swear to you, there was no other man.
Parker pulled himself together. Sit down, please, Lady Mary. You are determined to make this statement?
Yes.
Knowing I will have no choice but to act upon it?
If you will not hear it, I shall go straight to the police.
Very well. Go on.
On the evening of Wednesday, October the 13th, I went upstairs at 9:30. I sat up, writing a letter. At 10:15, I heard my brother and Dennis quarrelling. I heard my brother call Dennis a cheat, and tell him that he was never to speak to me again. I heard Dennis run out. I listened for some time, but did not hear him return. At 11:30, I became alarmed. I changed my dress and went out to try and find Dennis and bring him in. I feared he might do something desperate. After some time I found him in the shrubbery, and I begged him to come in. He refused and told me about my brother's accusation and the quarrel. I was very much horrified, of course. He said, where was the good of denying anything, as Gerald was determined to ruin him? He asked me to go away and marry him and live abroad. I said I was surprised that he should suggest such a thing in the circumstances, and we both became very angry. I said, come in now, for tomorrow you can leave by the first train. He seemed almost crazy. He pulled out a pistol and said that he had come to the end of things, that his life was ruined, and that we were a lot of hypocrites, and that I had never cared for him, or I should not have minded what he'd done. Anyway, he said if I wouldn't come with him, it was all over, and he might as well be hanged for a sheep as a lamb. He'd shoot me and himself. I think he was quite out of his mind. He pulled out a revolver. I caught his hand. We struggled. I got the muzzle right up against his chest, and either I pulled the trigger or it went off by itself. I'm not clear which. It was all in such a whirl.
She paused. Parker's pen took down the words, and his face showed growing concern. Lady Mary went on.
He wasn't quite dead, so I helped him up, and we struggled back to the house. He fell once.
Why did you not leave him and run into the house to fetch help?
It didn't occur to me. It was a nightmare. I could only think of getting him along. I think I wanted him to die.
There was a dreadful pause.
He did die. He died at the door. I went into the conservatory and sat down. I sat for hours. I tried to think. I hated him for being a cheat and a scoundrel. I'd been taken in, you see, made a fool of by a common sharper. I was glad he was dead. I must have sat there for hours without a coherent thought. It wasn't till my brother came along I realized what I'd done, and that I might be suspected of murdering him. I was simply terrified. But I made up my mind all in a moment that I would pretend to know nothing, and that I had heard a shot and came down. You know what I did.
Why, Lady Mary? Why did you say to your brother, "Good God, Gerald, you've killed him"?
I never said that. I said, "Good God, Gerald, he's killed then." I never meant to suggest anything but suicide.
You admitted to those words at the inquest?
Yes.
Her hands knotted the gloves into all manner of shapes.
By that time I'd decided on a burglar story, you see.
The telephone bell rang and Parker went to the instrument. A voice came thinly over the wire. "Is that 110A Piccadilly? This is Charing Cross Hospital. A man was brought in tonight who says he's Lord Peter Wimsey. He was shot in the shoulder, struck his head in falling. He's only just recovered consciousness. He was brought in at 9:15. No, he'll probably do very well now. Yes, come round by all means. Peter has been shot. Will you come round with me to Charing Cross Hospital? They say he's in no danger. Still, oh, quick! Gathering up Mr. Bunter as they hurried through the hall, detective and self-accused rushed hurriedly out into Piccadilly, and, picking up a belated taxi at Hyde Park Corner, drove madly away through the deserted streets.